everybody, welcome back to Area 52, the channel where I show you that just because you're an amputee doesn't mean your life is over. So in the last video you guys saw me unpackaging and kind of loosely setting up my new welder. That was because in this video what I wanted to get done was a little bit of welding on Mouse Motel's winch bumper. But there was some preliminary things that had to be done first. Honestly, guys, I didn't want to film that. There's a lot of kind of boring cutting and clearancing that I had to do in order to get everything to kind of fit up the way I want. Which to outline that for you, the way I want it to fit is like a prefabricated bumper on a brand new vehicle. And unfortunately, that's not the case here. I've got a Jeep that's 24 years old and it's been wheeled, things are bent, things don't line up right, it's not a brand new vehicle. So I've spent hours and hours and hours clearancing, cutting, adjusting, just so that my frame plates would be pretty well straight, level, and my winch plate had to be clearanced so that it would sit on the frame plates and give me a little bit of room in between the back of the winch plate and the front of the Jeep, so that way when I go to put this on, I can just slide it straight in, bolt it in place, and I'm done. But like I said, I felt like that was going to be a lot of filming for not a lot of usable content. So I did take pictures along the way, and I'm going to explain to you kind of what I had to do up to this point to get where I am now, which is pretty much ready to at least tack weld the winch plate to my frame plates. Everything's level. I feel pretty confident in how everything is clearanced, so we'll get to that in just a second. But first, I'm going to kind of give you guys a walkthrough of what I've done over the past, well, several months now, honestly. I've been working on it on and off. I really, this was the boring stuff. I didn't want to do it just as much as you probably didn't care to watch me do it. So I'll run you through that real quick, and then we'll get back to the main part of the video and make some sparks fly. One of the very first things I had to do was cut open these holes in the front of the Jeep to expose the frame rails. I had to do it on the driver and the passenger side so I could slide my frame plates into those holes and bolt them up behind the front bumper area. You've probably seen this clip in the intro to this channel. So here you see that I've cut open the holes and exposed the subframe rails. After this, I was able to slide in my frame plates, mark the holes, and drill them into the frame plate. After I got the holes drilled in the frame plates, I welded nuts to the backside for attachment later, as you can see in this picture. Once I got the frame plates bolted to the Jeep, I noticed that the passenger side sat a lot lower than the driver's side. Looking down from the top, you can see that the frame plates pointed toward the center of the Jeep. Both sides were like this, and I wasn't exactly sure why. So what I decided to do was use this tree and the jack to push them outward and straighten them up. With the frame plates straightened and now leveled, the next thing to do was to clearance the winch plate so it sat down completely onto the frame plates. So what I settled on was cutting this section out of the center here to make that happen. As I was grinding the notch that I had made, my grinder cord got caught in itself and severed the cord. So I put it back together as best I could to keep going without having to trash my grinder. Even with the notch cut out of the winch plate, I had to massage back some sheet metal. Here and here had to be beaten back with a hammer to make sure the winch plate would fit well. Before we can get started on any of the welding projects, first we got to get going on the cutting project. I've had a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of steel on the bed of my truck since Mother's Day, and it's now September 22nd. the sheet is cut into two 4-foot squares, and as it is, it's too heavy for me to really handle by myself without risking hurting myself. So what I'm going to do is cut those sheets in half, and then I will use them as I need them. Everything that I have planned project-wise shouldn't need anything bigger than a 2-foot by 4-foot sheet of 1/4-inch steel. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then we will get into some welding later. One of the biggest issues that I had was this plug adapter right here. My 240 service is a 4-prong plug, and my welder and plasma cutter are both dual voltage, but they're a 3-prong plug. So I had to wait for this adapter to come in the mail. I got it from Walmart or something. It was pretty cheap, but the package got lost in delivery the first time around, so it took a month and a half from the first time I ordered to the time I actually got the plug. So that put my project to a grinding halt because I couldn't do anything until I was able to tap into my 240 service. So now that I have that, I can run the plasma cutter on 240 and hopefully be able to cut a lot faster. And then I can also use my new welder on 240 and be able to have a much higher quality of weld on this bumper, and something that's going to be a lot stronger. So I've already got the sheet pulled out. It's sitting on sawhorses, and I've got everything marked off and ready to cut. So the last thing to do is just cut it. Helps if you got the ground hooked up. I sped this clip up by like 8 times because even though I'm running on 240, it still took quite a while to cut all the way across this sheet. Still far faster than it would have been with a cutoff wheel only. So there you have it. I have both sheets cut in half, so now they're down to pieces that'll be easier for me to handle, move around the garage, and use. As you can see, it cut through that metal pretty fast. As the air compressor started running out of air, I was having a little bit of trouble with the plasma cutter not blowing the material, the slag, out the bottom of the cut. But that's not an issue with the plasma cutter. That's just not having a air supply with enough endurance. This thing is regulated at 60 psi. It's like 50 psi while I'm cutting, so it's releasing a lot of air. I've got a pretty big air compressor, but it never hurts to have a bigger one. So now that I have these cut, I can actually start working on the winch bumper for Project Mouse Motel. So let's get to that. Okay, so the welder is on and set. I've got the regulator set to, it's at 20 liters per minute now, but when I hit the trigger it drops down to about 15 liters per minute. I've got it set up, so hopefully it's a bit windy outside. I don't know if you guys have noticed that or not, but hopefully I'll have enough shielding gas to make a nice weld. If not, I'll turn it up a little bit or do something to try to block the wind. I might even roll the Jeep in here and do the welding in here. So I've got a good ground set up. I cleaned all the scale off as you saw. I'm ready to weld, guys.
don't know what was going on there, but it definitely did not like it. I'm going to try turning up the regulator a little bit. See if I can get something a little bit better going on. Alright, so I turned up the regulator so that when I trigger I'm getting about 20 liters per minute. So we'll see what that does here. It's extremely windy, so I'm probably going to end up having to pull this thing inside. Oh, that's disgusting. Alright guys, I'm making an executive decision here. I can weld this a lot better on a bench, and I think that's probably going to be, let me rephrase that. I should be able to weld this a lot better on a bench. And I think that's going to be the best case scenario, considering this is the most important weld of the entire bumper build. So I think I'm going to unbolt it real quick and go ahead and take it inside, close the garage door, and get this thing welded up the rest of the way. Hopefully I'm able to get it bolted back to the Jeep after this. I decided to build as much of the bumper as I could while everything was still bolted to the Jeep, which you'll see in the next video. Until then guys, thanks for watching this. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and if there's anything you want to see more of, go ahead and hit me up in the comments. Thanks everybody, have a great day.